All right, let's do it. Yo, quick little double feature for y'all today. So tonight I saw Good Fortune. So before I get into the other movie that I saw a few days ago, I'm gonna start with this. I don't think it's gonna take that long. Good Fortune stars Aziz Ansari, Seth Rogen, Keanu Reeves, and I had no expectations for it. I don't love Aziz Ansari. I think he is very fine. You know, he's very one note, doesn't have a ton of range or anything like that. But I watched his movie anyway because I thought, why not? And it was very alright. I think that the biggest problem with the movie, beyond the acting being very robotic, is just that the theming was extremely confused. I don't think I'm going to get into spoilers in these things. They struggle with views enough as is without people having to worry about whether or not I'm going to tell them that, Han Solo gets killed. But I do want to say lightly that it's a class and kind of financial institution issue that I take with it. You don't need to know much about me beyond just looking at my spiky choker and my, independently made Misfit shirt, but I'm not a huge fan of capitalism. And the movie initially makes a good point of also not being a fan of capitalism and having a very honest, realistic portrayal of a working class man's struggle and a working class woman's struggle and the hopelessness that many, many people feel, especially in the US right now, how it feels like everything is way too expensive, wages have stagnated, you barely have enough to get by, you don't have enough time in the day to do anything you want to do, you just work, sleep, work, sleep, work, sleep, wake up, and then you're thinking about, oh man, I have to go to work tomorrow even though today's your day off. It's like a never-ending cycle of it's just like a clogged toilet, just keeps spinning around. And initially, Good Fortune handles that very honestly and gracefully, and it's very funny despite everybody talking like this the entire time, until it doesn't. Again, I'm not going to spoil it, but Good Fortune does end in a very Disney-esque, predictable Hollywood sort of way where things kind of shake out. And I know it sounds silly when discussing a movie about Keanu Reeves playing an angel with little tiny stumpy baby wings, saving Aziz Ansari from texting and driving, but the suspension of disbelief is immediately shattered because it relies on extremely unrealistic things happening in an otherwise pretty honest and realistic film. So that kind of bothered me a little bit, because if you're going to tell me that life is worth living despite how shitty everything is for everyone, I like you to give evidence to support that. And it would be one thing if Good Fortune didn't spend 2/3 of its runtime indicating that things don't actually get better, just to immediately say at the very end, but keep fighting anyway, though, big dog, and then just calling it a day. But it does. The first 2/3 of Good Fortune confirm that Aziz Ansari's life is bad, Keke Palmer's life is bad, and both of their lives will continue to be bad, likely until they die. It says that very directly, and then at the very end, they're just expected to deal with it, and that kind of bugs me. So my preference would be either go full fantasy and just have just something crazy and ridiculous happen to solve their problems, or to completely change the genre and have it be a black comedy that, instead of relying on just unrealistic, improbable happenstance solving their issues, just have Seth Rogen playing just a complete sociopath, doing anything possible to get his life back, just murdering people, almost a fucking spoof, a parody movie, Scary Movie level, Naked Gun absurdity, Looney Tunes shit. He gets a fucking bazooka and backfires, and then he's just covered in black smoke with a sign that says "uh-oh" before he turned into little speckles of dust. But again, it was a fine movie. It was pretty funny, to my surprise, and I appreciated Seth Rogen and not him, Seth Rogen and Keanu Reeves, they were fun. So yeah, if I had to give it a score, I would give it like a 3 out of 5. Like a pretty high 3 out of 5. I had a good time, better than I thought, but I do take issue with a lot of the choices that they made. Now, on to the other movie, Frankenstein. Once Netflix announced that this was going to be a Netflix original, I knew that I couldn't watch this shit on Netflix. It's a Del Toro Frankenstein movie. It's a Del Toro movie. It's a movie. Like, I don't want to watch that shit on my television, Like, I don't want that. So I got my tickets to see it, and, I saw it in theaters, and I was pretty disappointed. Me and Del Toro have kind of a love-hate relationship where, I rarely hate any of his movies other than like Nightmare Alley, which was like a fucking... But I don't usually love them. Outside of The Shape of Water and Pacific Rim, which are two of my favorite movies of all time, I am usually rather lukewarm on his movies. And this one, I felt kind of similarly to. Like, on the hierarchy of like Del Toro, with like the peak being like Shape of Water, Pacific Rim, and the bottom being Nightmare Alley, this falls like somewhere between like Hellboy and like Pan's Labyrinth. You know what I mean? Very much like an okay flick. Like, visually, it's astounding. It's phenomenal to look at. Whoa, let me try that again. It's phenomenal to look at. It's a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful fucking movie. And seeing it on a big stream, Christ. Seeing it on the big screen, despite the horrible theater I was at, which for some reason had no middle seats available, just a long fucking aisle on a flat surface. It felt like watching it at a drive-in theater, but with none of the charm. It was beautiful. Gorgeous, gorgeous movie. And that alone made it worth it. But if absolutely nothing else, I'll also say, to my surprise, Jacob Elordi, I thought that nigga was just tall and white, but he can kind of act. In a movie with people like Christoph Waltz, Oscar Isaac, Mia Goth, that man literally outacted everybody else in the movie, which is crazy as fuck to me. I love me some Oscar Isaac. Don't love his filmography. Love me some Mia Goth. Same problem, except I also want to just do awful things for her, to her, with her. The only one that got close to Jacob's glaze was Christoph Waltz. Like, they didn't share any real like screen time together, I don't think, but Christoph Waltz did his thing. He's always great. I just get a kick out of him every single time. Yeah, I think he did good, but Jacob Elordi was phenomenal. Biggest problems with Frankenstein is just, it's very mundane problem. It's just that I found it kind of slow and kind of dull. I thought the pacing was pretty bad. I thought it was a very, very densely packed movie. I thought that the just for a movie that's like based on an incredibly, probably, if not the most famous piece of fiction ever written, then top like 3, it takes its sweet ass time setting everything up. And as much as I love Isaac, he just was not bringing enough for me to carry everything. And Mia Goth honestly isn't given too much to do. It's like kind of frustrating for me. So everything is reliant on Jacob Elordi's section, which is the second half of the movie. It's Oscar Isaac's story, Frankenstein's story, Jacob Elordi's story, the creature story, and then the finale, the third act, which is just them tying everything together. I was kind of dozing off during Oscar Isaac's story. I'm not going to hold you. After a minute, I was getting a little bored. But Jacob Elordi woke my ass the fuck up. He was super great. Fully leaned into the role, fully leaned into being a monster height man, and just was like, I could work with this. And he did. And he worked with it very well. So yeah, the visuals are great. Jacob Elordi's great. But the movie itself left a bit to be desired. Could have used a big trim. Could have used more time between the characters and tying everything together, as opposed to all of that goddamn setup. It's a lot of setup, and it just didn't do all too much for me. So if I had to give it a score, I would also give it a 3 out of 5. Here's why. I didn't find it super duper engaging. Most of the emotional beats didn't hit for me. Most of the performances didn't do too much for me. And, in general, I just wasn't terribly impressed with much besides the visuals and Jacob Elordi's performance. But that all said, I love Del Toro. I always support him, what he stands for, what he makes. And barring Nightmare Alley, he's never done me wrong before. So I will continue to support him, go out of my way to see his movies, go to theaters, see movies how they were intended to be watched, and not support the streaming giant that has just obliterated film and television and the discussion of both. So that's it. My next movie is actually the Chainsaw Man movie, which I am seeing tomorrow. Probably going to do a review for that one too. But I'm going to space out the postings of these. So, yes, thanks a lot for watching. Hope you enjoyed. If you watched the movies too, either one, let me know. If you agree, if you disagree, I would like to have a regular human being discussion about it. If you're not going to be weird about it, that would be nice. Yeah, like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. I'm going to see 2 videos, baby. We're out here. We're out here. So, thank you very much for watching. Have a great night. And, stay black.